So 2020 has had some great films this year, man. The horror genre has been killing it. Unfortunately, this isn't one of those films. This film stars Scout Taylor Compton as BBA Love. Now, this young man finds this battered woman who seems to be frantic and lost and bloodied, and so he takes her back to his friend's house. His friend's having a little bit of a get together with the other friends, young adults. They're probably in their early 20s, late teens, somewhere in that area. And they bring her in, and the friends, of course, are like, "What the hell are you doing, man? What are you bringing some beat-up chick into our house for?" And then they're all like, "Is that BBA Love? She's supposed to be some big pop star of the times within their universe." And she kind of wakes up, and she's like trying to play like it's not her. Of course, it ends up being her. And there is a, we'll say her handler. I don't know what to call this guy. Her caretaker or something. Whatever it is. He's out there looking for her, and he seems to be a pretty evil dude. And so he shows up to the house demanding her back. And some of the kids want to give, or young adults want to give her back, and some of them don't. Of course, the guy being like, "Hey man, like, this is BBA Love. Like, for one, she's my crush. And for two, like, I'm not giving her up to some dude we don't know who he is." And the movie kind of plays out like that. It's supernatural. And I'm not going to say where it goes. I don't want to give spoilers or anything. But man, this film had potential. You know what movie this reminded me of? Of course, nowhere near as good. Is it had elements of Tales from the Crypt Presents Demon Knight with William Sadler, Billy Zane, and Jada Pinkett. Jada Pinkett at that time, no Smith. You've got the collector outside Billy Zane, and he wants in the building so that he can retrieve the key from Breaker. And imagine if the key was Scout Taylor Compton. If I was the collector, I would rather be trying to collect Scout Taylor Compton personally than some fucking key filled with Jesus's blood. But that's just me. The whole reason I watch this movie is Scout. I love Scout. I think she's gorgeous. Her acting is, it's hit or miss. And I think it's typically on the production. In this, she's fine. She's fine. She just found out she had a sex tape, which I did not know. Information. I was like, oh, that's a thing. Interesting. Everybody have a fucking sex tape these days? I don't have a sex tape. Coming soon. But yeah, there's a few issues with this movie. Let me just give you an example from this movie. This is the perfect way to describe this film, is just by a specific scene in the film. There's this like demon thing that's trying to kill these kids. And so one of the guys goes and he grabs a gun. And so he shoots at this thing, right? And it hits it in the head, blood flies everywhere, all across the door. This is inside a house, and the house is big, but it ain't that big. About 10 seconds later, 5-10 seconds later, in comes, you want to consider this a spoiler, that's fine. I don't know. For me, it's not a spoiler. It's just a very specific scene. It doesn't give away any plot details or anything. The next moment, of course, is not this thing coming back. It's his friend. And the friend gets shot at. And the guy's like, "What the fuck, man? You shot at me? Oh my, what do you have, a gun now? You have a gun?" He just fired the gun 10 seconds ago, leaving an entire huge blood splatter all over the wall right there next to the door that he shot through, because like the thing's coming through the door, so it's like ripped the door apart. And then there's like a wall behind it, so it's like blood all over the wall. The guy didn't hear the gunshot 5 seconds ago. And if he did, he still stuck his head through there without announcing himself and then tried to play like, "Wait, you have a gun?" This is what I'm talking about. This is the kind of shit that I just can't look past. When I watch movies like this, like any movie, if I watch a movie and it has this kind of scene in it, I'm just going to sit there and go, did anybody on set really give a shit? Because the film has promise, okay? The idea that there's this starlet who's lost and this kid recognizes her, and he's like, oh my God, it's my, my celebrity crush, and, I want to protect her. I'm going to protect her. There's also some like muddled love relationship stuff in here. I first thought it was going one way, then it goes a completely different direction, and I'm supposed to buy it. I didn't at all. I don't see any setup for it outside of just pure like otherworldly supernatural seduction. But I feel like they're trying to sell it like it's genuine, and I was like, I'm not buying this in the slightest. And another huge issue. Your film very much relies, a horror film, most films in general, very much relies on the performance of your antagonist. The guy who is coming after Scout Taylor Compton in this movie, BBA Love, when he has to be menacing and he like projects and gives this like bombastic, loud performance, and like when he's trying to be creepy, there's moments in the movie where he kind of just sits down and talks to people normal and he's fine, but it's when he tries to project any kind of menace, any kind of creepiness, any kind of craziness, any kind of threat, any of that stuff. It's horrible. Like he's trying to do this like really precise, like sociopathic behavior in certain sequences where he comes to the door and he's like, we're gonna need you to let me in, otherwise this and that, and it's terrible. It really is. And it's one of those things where I always just sit there and wonder, like, didn't the director call cut and say, okay, all right, I saw where you were going with that, but how about we dial it down here and maybe add some of this? I mean, just play around with it. Let's do a few different takes, maybe try it like this and try it a few other ways, whatever's on your head. No? Like, did directors get scared of actors and they're just like, okay, everything you did was great, next scene? Like, I don't know. I don't see that performance happening in front of them and them going, cut, it's a wrap. Like, I would be on the set and being like, we're going to need to reshoot that. Maybe change things up a little bit. Maybe try something else. I mean, I'm not going to try to tell you what to do exactly, but I am the director and I'm here to direct you, and this is my vision, so maybe you should try it like this. Play around with it, make it your own, but this isn't working. So, it's just, and there's so many stupid ass moments, and there's such shit CGI. Please stop with the CG. Like, especially in specific things like face distortions or like filters that go over a face to make it look evil, and it's clearly CG, like really poor CG, and you're just like, why not just do some prosthetic makeup and then composite them or something? Like, it's not really that difficult. This thing had somewhat of a budget. It got Scout Taylor Compton. It looks like a fairly well-produced film for the most part. I mean, it's low budget, obviously, but it's not like ultra obvious, like shot on a fucking cell phone camera. So it's just, I don't know. But it's a chore. It's a chore to get through. There's very little good I could say about the film. It was not a fun time for me. So, Scout, I love you, but please start making better movies, because I've watched like everything you've ever made. Every time she's in anything, I'm always like, okay, Lori, let's do this. So, you let me down again. Stop it.